Today, as this video is being published, is the 4th of July, which is Independence Day here in my country, which is the United States, in case you didn't know. I think it's interesting that we Americans celebrate our Independence Day on not the day that independence was officially declared, because the Continental Congress officially declared independence from Great Britain on July 2nd, 1776. We celebrate Independence Day on July 4th because that is the day that the Declaration of Independence, the document that we all venerate as the source of our independence, was actually approved and adopted on July 4th. So we celebrate our national birthday 2 days late. I also think it's interesting that we celebrate the Declaration of Independence rather than the recognition of our independence, which in the eyes of Great Britain didn't come until after the Revolutionary War was over, which was many years after July 4th, 1776. We date the origin of our nation to the moment when we declared it to be independent, as though independence in America was a result of will. And we just sort of overlook the bloodshed that was necessary to actually make that independence mean something, to actually win that independence. And that's a very American tendency, to focus on a moment of creation, a moment of epiphany, and sort of idealize it and romanticize it, and kind of overlook the much harder business of actually realizing it. But that harder business of realizing it is what I would like to talk about in this video on Independence Day here in the U.S., because that hard work is something that we find ourselves continually having to do. We have wonderful ideals in the United States. We have had wonderful ideals from the very beginning. And some of those ideals, some of the most basic of them, are found in the Declaration of Independence, the rights to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. That's just a wonderfully idealized, elevated statement of what it means to be an American, of what the United States is all about. But of course, the government that is charged with protecting those liberties and executing the laws that have been passed to secure those liberties and enable the pursuit of that happiness by we Americans is not 240 years old. It did not come into existence in 1776. It came into existence in either 1788 or 1789, depending on whether you're starting from the ratification of the Constitution or when the new government created by the Constitution first went into session. Either way, it was quite some time after the Declaration in 1776 that the American government, the American state as we now have it, came into existence and began operations. So the Constitution is a much more important document to our everyday lives in the United States than the Declaration of Independence, and it gets much less attention on Independence Day than the Declaration does. There is a Constitution Day, but nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody pays any attention to the Constitution on Constitution Day. And I think that's a shame. We look at the Declaration of Independence as though that is the mission statement of the United States. But there is language in the Constitution that I feel provides us with the best mission statement, the best summary of what the United States is and ought to be, what we should be striving for as Americans. Better even than anything in the Declaration of Independence. Yes, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are powerful words and powerful ideals, but if we read the preamble of the Constitution, we find a summary of the American dream, of the American experiment, of American ideals that I believe is every bit as powerful as anything that we find in the Declaration, and is particularly relevant to us today as we continue to confront the shortcomings of our attempts to realize those American ideals. So these are some of the most quoted and revered words in American history, but I just want to read to you what the preamble of the U.S. Constitution says. It says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." The Constitution was ratified in 1788. The government that operates under its authority went into session for the first time in 1789. And ever since then, we have been struggling to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. That has been the central challenge for every generation of Americans that has lived since that original constitutional generation of the late 18th century. And the struggles to secure those blessings have taken many forms, have focused on many different particular challenges, but overall, that has been the defining struggle of American history, securing the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. And it has required us to expand our understanding of what those words mean, expanding our understanding of to whom those words apply. When we say ourselves and our posterity, we have come to understand, at least most of us have come to understand, that we are talking about everyone. We're not just talking about landowners. We're not just talking about white people. We're not just talking about men. We're not just talking about people who were born here and are natural-born American citizens. We're talking about everyone. Securing the blessings of liberty means recognizing that not everyone has an equal shot. Not everyone has the same path to walk. Some of us have a much easier time than others. And the reasons why other people have a much more difficult path to walk are often unjust because of racial discrimination, because of discrimination on the basis of their gender or their gender identity or their sexual orientation or the fact that they speak with a certain accent or the fact that they come from a particular country or they follow a particular religious tradition or they have a certain level of income. There are all sorts of reasons why people are denied those blessings of liberty, why they are forced to do with a much smaller share of those blessings of liberty than otherwise ought to be theirs. Recognizing those instances where we have fallen short, where we have failed to secure the blessings of liberty for everyone entitled to those blessings, means not only recognizing our shortcomings as a nation, but also recognizing where we have fallen short in our communities, even if those are communities that we have chosen because we want to make progress, because we want to make society in general better. I think about how womanists and black feminists have shown us the way in doing this, teaching us the importance of centering the most vulnerable, the most marginalized members of our communities, teaching us the importance, the absolute necessity that if you are starting a human rights movement or participating in a human rights movement to advocate for the rights and the equality and the inclusion and the fair treatment and the dignity of a marginalized group, then you must be doing it on behalf of everyone in the group, especially the most marginalized among the marginalized. Securing the blessings of liberty for everyone means making this a nation that is built of communities where everyone's basic rights are recognized and respected, where the humanity and the human dignity of everyone is acknowledged and respected, and where those who refuse to acknowledge and respect those basic things are ostracized, are marginalized, not because of who they are, not because of the color of their skin, not because of the religion they follow or the language they speak or their gender identity or their sexuality, but because of their toxic, harmful, divisive, destructive behavior. And we've made great strides in the United States toward realizing those ideals since 1788. We have a tendency to rest on our laurels. We have a tendency to pat ourselves on the back a little too vigorously whenever we do make a significant leap forward. But nonetheless, if you zoom out and you look at American history with 1788 on one end and 2016 on the other end, you can chart our progress, and it has been quite significant. And that's something that we should be proud of on Independence Day. That's something that we should celebrate on Independence Day. That's something that we should take stock in and take pride in, that this is a better, freer, more just, more inclusive, and in many ways more peaceful country today than it was when it was founded. But it is not something we should be content with. Because whatever that line is, whatever that graph of progress looks like that starts in 1770 or 80 something and goes up to 2016. We want that to continue in that direction. We want that climb to continue, and we want, if possible, to make it a much steeper climb, to go up at a much sharper angle, because we still have a lot of work to do. There is still institutional racism in this country that harms people's lives, that ruins communities. There is still institutional sexism in this country that ruins people's lives, that limits people's opportunities. There is still a far, far too large portion of our population that lives in crushing, inescapable poverty. There are still people who, while they legally have the right to vote, find themselves very challenged to exercise that right because they don't happen to live close enough to a polling place, or they have to work on election day, or they can't find someone to watch their kids long enough for them to go and exercise the most basic fundamental liberty of their citizenship. We still have a long way to go. We've made great strides for the rights and equality and inclusion of lesbians and gays and bi people and transgender people and people who identify as genderqueer or non-binary or whatever color of the LGBTQ rainbow that they happen to fall into. We've made great progress in that area, and we should be proud of that. But we shouldn't stop. We should push forward stronger and more determined than ever. Because while we have made this a more perfect union over the last 2 centuries plus, there is still much about our union, much about our society, much about our nation and the smaller communities within our nation that needs to be and demands to be perfected, that cries out to be perfected and improved. We still have a lot of work to do, and there are still far too many people in this country who are unable to enjoy those blessings of liberty that our founders swore to secure for themselves and their posterity. Well, we are their posterity, and it's our job to continue to fight to secure those blessings of liberty for ourselves, all of us, and our posterity. And I cannot think of a better mission statement for the United States, and I cannot think of a better ideal to hold on to and to continue to strive toward on Independence Day or any day. Hey folks, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also, please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron. Thanks for watching, and to my fellow Americans, happy Independence Day.